So why don't you give our audience a story about how you and Pete came to know each other?
So,
Long time ago, 2007, Pete needed an observer for a spring Dalhousie tournament, and I just happened to be the guy. And I was put on Vince's boat. Yep. For 2 days, I fished with Vin and learned quite a bit. That was my goal to do it, was just to learn. You know,
Vince
I wanted
Perleone.
to. Yes, Vince Perleone.
I hooked him up on a good boat.
Yeah.
Yes. My goal being there was I wanted to learn how to salmon fish.
Yeah.
You know, grew up walleye fishing my whole life. Salmon became a passion. I mean, they're just a different species. You know, they're totally different. You know.
So, yeah, Nick answered a forum post. You know,
Yep.
Vision Quest looking for an observer for the tournament, and he responded, and I didn't know him. You know, I'm like, hope he shows. You know, like
Right.
that
Yeah.
deal, and so that's how our first our introduction was as an observer many years ago.
The story goes, sitting there Sunday after the weigh-in, Vince, after sitting on the boat for 2 days, learned I fished out of the same port in Olcott. He needed a mate for the next day, and he asked me if I wanted to do it. And I said, sure, why not? I was in college at the time. I was landscaping in the summer. I mean, who enjoys that, you know? So he asked me if I wanted to do that this summer. We went out, ran a brown trout trip. It's walleye fishing, you know, stick baits in shallow water. And we were done at 8:30. Went back to the dock. He sat me down and asked me if I wanted to do it for the summer. And here I am.
So then I see him maybe at a weigh-in or something a short time later. I'm like, what are you still doing around here? And he's like, oh, I'm working for Vince as a mate. And I'm like, wow, that was pretty cool. Like the marriage got made, and I was kind of part of that somehow, inadvertently, but part of it. So we see each other often.
Right.
So,
Well, tell me how that went. I mean, Vince has got a reputation. What was that like?
It was pretty cool. It's learning on the job for sure.
Yeah.
A lot of the customers have said I've softened them over the years.
Yeah.
They have said that, yes.
So was you.
I guess so. I mean, not that screaming, yelling man that we know you can hear from boat to boat out on the lake.
I'm glad you said that and I didn't have to.
He's intense.
Yeah.
You know, he's intense.
Right.
You can learn a lot. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I couldn't have asked a better way to learn how to fish the lake.
Rumor was, I think it's true, that Nick had to sign an agreement, like a sworn to secrecy type agreement, like whatever you see here, touch, smell.
Pete, I can't tell you the answer to that.
He had to sign that we can't.
You can't talk about it.
It doesn't go past the boat.
Part of the agreement.
So it's part of the agreement, and I think he's done a good job holding that.
There was no end date to that agreement.
Right. So
yeah,
we're just teasing about that.
So there's a lot of past though, and I see it all the time on the forums and message boards. People that were probably a lot like you, in that they liked fishing, they liked being around it, and they wanted to get in the business, and they didn't know how to do it. And they're like, hey, I think I want to become a mate. How do I do that? I think your story is actually strong because people can kind of see how that works. But what would your advice be to somebody who is in that situation where maybe they're just out of college or something like that, and they think they want to do something like that? What would be your advice to somebody who's thinking about getting into being a mate?
Honestly, I got lucky. I mean, I had no intentions of it. As far as someone getting into it, contact captains. Guys are always looking for someone to do it. We have I now have had a license for 8 years. We do have mates under us. We just get local kids in town that love to fish and they want to do it. Some do it for longer periods of time than others, do it till they go to school. But as far as getting into it, contact the captain. It's the best way. Get your name out there.
What are those expectations? And Pete, you can answer this question too. Maybe both of you guys would be really good at answering this question. What is the expectation as a captain when you bring a mate on? What makes a good first mate?
Well, probably just like any employee, you want them to be on time, punctual. You want them to integrate and talk to the people a little bit, You want them to not sit on their butt. You want them constantly on their toes, not being lazy. And then continue to, as the day progresses, just, again, engage with the people, be active on the boat. And then, when everything's done and over with, is to engage in doing a good job, making good use of the time. Put the baits away on the ride in, if clean the boat up, do a good job, right? And end it like the day began. Everything orderly, boat clean. People like to clean boats.
So Vince sat me down, gave me what his expectations are, and as I got more into it, I kind of developed my own things of doing things. I mean, I'm down at the boat an hour and a half early every morning. We leave the dock at 6. I'm down there at 4:30 every morning. I've been late twice, and once I got in a car accident on a ride there my first year, and one other time I just slept through the alarm and I was late. And that's since 2007. I've been late twice, but I'm down there at 4:30 in the morning. Rod's ready, tackle ready, anything I got to retie, go through. I do admit I do got to scrub the boat a little bit better, and I admit that one.
Yeah.
I do slack on that a little bit, but I keep up it throughout the day. It's not a pigsty or anything. I keep up on it throughout the day, but a little bit more cleaner would be a better thing.
Okay.
But it's everyone, you're part of a guy's business. He makes us live in this way. You make money this way. You got to respect that. Got to be good with clients.
So,
You have to be able to be good with clients.
so what would you say was your most exciting moment over the years on the Thrill Seeker? Whether it was a big fish that got landed, or a customer's expression, or a tournament win. I know you fish tournaments with them as well. So if you had to pick out maybe one or two things that were like, wow, that I'll remember that till I pass. What's the moment?
Had quite a few moments that stick out.
Pick a couple.
We ran an afternoon trip. One moment that sticks out. We ran an afternoon trip. We're longtime friends of Vin's. Wanted to bring out his grandkids, and we were fishing stagers, and we ended up with a quad. And the last fish to hit was a 22-pound brown trout with an 8-year-old kid. And that fish sticks out to me a lot. That kid was excited. They ended up getting mounted for him. That was cool. And seeing a smile on everyone's faces. I mean, we get 6-7 guys a year. That's the first fish they've ever caught.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I was part of that. And to me, I love the tournaments. I'd fish every one of them if I could. But when you put a fish on a deck and that guy's holding it, or that lady's holding it, that kid's holding it, that smile on her face means more than any of those tournament wins, any of them. And one other thing that I like is I like this. It's a science. As much as going out there fishing, okay, what's going to bite next? Are you going to put a fly down? Are you going to put meat down? You can put spoon down. I like figuring out the fish. That's my favorite thing of the day. And there'll be times we'll have both boats out, and we'll be going, and Vin and I will be talking, and all of a sudden I go blank, and it's just because I get so into figuring out the fish. And it does frustrate him once in a while because I'm just not, if he's not catching fish or not on fish, I just don't, I'm not communicative with him, and I just get so into that. Figuring out the fish is probably my most favorite thing to do. Mm-hmm. And when a customer gets off that boat and says that day was awesome, any smile from them just makes it all worth it.
Yeah, so it's something that Pete brought up. It's something that I've talked with Casey about a lot. But it's not all about the fishing. And I know it's something that a lot of people who are really into fishing, they want to do this. They want to be a charter captain because they want to fish for a living. They want to know everything about fishing and know how to do it the best. But you brought it up, and a lot of this job that you guys do, it's really it's a people business.
Yes.
And it's even, especially if you have a day where things aren't going real well in the rods, like entertaining those people, making sure they have a good time, and just connecting with people so that when they go fishing with Peter, they go fishing with you, the next time they want to book a charter, like, hey, I had fun with this guy. Maybe today we didn't catch a ton of fish, but it was fun being out with them. What's that like, and how do you kind of hone that skill to really kind of learn to connect with people and just walk off the boat and everybody feels good about the situation?
Well, that's a good question. I think, first of all, it's got to be about the experience, not about what the cooler says, okay? Even though that's part of it. But I think making sure that people have a good time, that you're friendly, that you got, you have some humor in the whole thing. Mm-hmm. Orientate the people of the boat, the whole thing, and just make sure they enjoy really the whole thing, not just what they're reeling and catching that day or what they go home with in their bags, right? It's have fun with the mate, have fun with the people, kid around with them. And so part of it's the people aspect of that, right? Is just them enjoying you and you enjoying them. And the fishing sometimes comes secondary to it all. And I think at the end of the day, they might not remember what they caught, but they're gonna remember if you were a jerk or you were like, I'm not going with that guy because he had no personality or he just didn't treat me right. So I think you got to be aware of that as a captain, and I am. I try to make sure everybody has a good time. And fishing's fishing. Not everybody kills them every day.
Right.
And sometimes you got to turn a tough day into
positive.
Hey
somehow.
guys, it's one of those days. Let's just have fun anyway, and we can joke around a tough day because we all have them once in a while. But it's really that they walk off with a really fun, good experience.
One thing, and it brings me back to a trip I had last year. It was actually, as a captain, it was my worst trip. I only came in with like 3 fish, and it was a tough fight. Nobody was catching fish. And I've ran that group for a couple years now. They come up for 2 days, and last year we smashed stagers down off the river, and we were fishing in front of Olcott. And I came in with 3 fish for 6 customers, and they walked off the boat and they said, "Nick, don't worry about it. We want our 2 days next year." And they go, "We saw how hard you worked." And if they see how hard you work, you're not just sitting there, even if you're sitting there communicating, entertaining them, but you're not trying to catch fish, you're not changing out lures, you're not, looking at a new spot. If they see how hard you work, that makes up for a ton of stuff.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
That's a very good point.
real good. So you were a mate for a while, and then what's that process like going from I'm a mate to getting licensed, becoming a captain? What's that transition like?
Other than you got more responsibilities on a boat, you got to get the license. I took it with the local company. I don't know if it still exists anymore. I've had it. I think I'm on 8 year. I think this is my 8th or 9th year. 8th year, I think. It's the same stuff. You're just a captain now. You're in charge.
Do you remember your first trip? The very first
As a
trip
captain?
you went out? Yeah.
I do remember
you're
my
the
first
guy.
trip as a captain. It was one of those days, and you know how we are. We fish everything. We leave the dock when a lot of people won't. And you're the same way.
So it was rough.
It was
snotty.
terrible. It started out calm in the morning, but it ended rough. And it was in May, I think, May or June, and it was good fishing. And we had this family come in, and it was one of those nasty days, those 6 to 8 days. And I go out. It's the first time I've driven a boat, docked a boat, no issues, but I'm in charge. And I remember the group. And there were 6 of them. We caught 6 fish, and I think it was a 4-hour trip or 5-hour trip. And I'll tell you right now, it was all spoons on the riggers, and I'll even tell you the lure. It was the what I call the Matt Yablonsky. It was the green skirt.
Green skirt.
The green skirt. All of them on one lure. They were all kings. Each one of them caught kings. I think there was 2 or 3 matures involved. They were ecstatic. They were super happy. They loved every moment of it, and I believe they've been back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was my first trip. I remember leaving the dock, Vince sitting there in the boat taking pictures. I'm like, what the
That's
heck's
neat.
going on?
That's neat.
Yeah.
Neat. That's neat.
Oh, yeah.
Must have made you feel pretty good.
It did.
Yeah.
It made me feel a little bit better when I got back to the dock.
Right.
It sure did.
Chest puffed out a little bit.
No, I'm not that type of person. And sometimes, I'm not that type of person, but it felt good. Ran a trip. Everyone was safe. That's the first goal. Above everything is safety. In my mind, it's safety, especially when we fish days a lot of people won't. And yeah, I still remember the one girl holding the fish on a cooler, her smile. It was a dad with 4 kids, I believe it was. And yeah, it was cool. It was exciting.
So what's that like? And that's the thing as a charter captain, a lot of times you have repeat bookings. You know who the guys are. You know what the personality's like. But sometimes you get these new people in. You have no idea what they're bringing a lot of times. So what's it like? What's the difference in what your job's going to look like from, hey, bachelor party to dad with 4 kids? So how does that change your day and what your day is going to look like as a charter captain?
Go ahead, Nick.
When it comes to the fishing,
Yeah.
I do the same thing all the time.
Okay.
Because it's one less variable. If you just go out there to catch fish, if I can go out there and I can pound kings, everybody wants to pound kings. Why not? They're the greatest thing that swims. You want to catch kings. But if it's got to be brown trout, if it's got to be steelhead, if it's got to be Lakers, fine. It's that I do the same thing all the time. Jokes change. How you talk to people changes. It's like that happens. You have to watch your people. You have to learn your people.
All right. Pete?
Well, for me, I judge my crew, okay? Age, experience, bachelor party, wild ones. Okay, and then I judge the water. Okay, so if you got the family going on, I'm gonna make sure everybody's. I'm gonna ask them 3 times. Did you go to the bathroom? We good, right? You sure you got everything? You know, we got time. The camera, the iPhones. Once we pull out, they can't go back. So triple check with them guys. So make sure they got everything. Make sure they got their snacks and beverages. Make sure that I warm up if they're kids. We warm up to the kids. I'll have my mate work with the kids a little, teach them how to reel properly. I might go and tell the dad, efficient's good. It might be one thing. Efficient's tough. I might say, if little Joey is going to get the first fish, then we're good. But I'm just going to let you know, maybe a rigger rod is good for Joey, right? Because it's short, sweet, and a little easier to control, less reeling. So I'll think of that whole plan depending on who I got on the boat. And if there are people who I don't think have very good legs that day, or they're inexperienced and it's going to be too rough, we might say we're going to give it a shot for a while, or I might power down the lake 10 miles or 8 miles and take a big one-way troll, so they got the best comfort ride. Even though it might not be the direction I want to go, but we're going to get the Dan and make not have a bad experience and half of them get seasick, right? So I kind of look at my crew and we go from there.
All right. Very good. Anything else?
No.
Unless you have any more questions, I'm good.
All right, man. We appreciate you stopping
Thanks, guys.
by.
Yeah, anytime.
Nick, good seeing you.
Yep. You guys have a good day.